Was it Pipsqueak's imagination, or were things getting foggier by the minute? He could barely see his own hooves now. If it weren't for the lanterns Snails was carrying, they'd have a much lower field of vision. Saphira led the three ponies, using some kind of spell to inspect the ground. Pipsqueak wished he knew more about what she was doing, but he wasn't a unicorn. The concept of magic was such an alien thing for him to even begin to understand. Pipsqueak continued, in vain, to try and contact the others using his runestone. No luck. He didn't understand it. The runes were supposed to work. They had been working. Why weren't they working now? He sighed. Everfree Forest. This place defies the normal rules ponies were used to. Could be any number of reasons. Hey, was it getting dimmer? Again? He sighed. Snails, you're falling behind. Sorry, is what he was expecting to hear for the 7th or 8th time. This time, all he heard was the sound of the wind rustling through the trees. It was getting much darker now. Pipsqueak couldn't even see the path anymore. Snails? He and Saphira stopped dead in their tracks and turned around. But Snails was gone. So was their best source of light. Pipsqueak felt that panic welling up inside of him again. Saphira wrapped her tail around his. Don't be scared, is what she said to him, even though Pipsqueak could feel her shaking as well. I've been marking our trail. We just need to find it and follow it back. Her horn glowed brighter as she examined the foggy ground. Around him, Pipsqueak became aware of the tiniest noise, the howling of the timber wolves from far away, the rustling wind of in the trees creating a low growl, the chirping of crickets. So many sounds, but the one he was most concerned about was that screech. It wasn't that long since he last heard it, but just the memory of it made him shake. Be brave, Pipsqueak. Be brave. Where was his dad when he needed him? He wanted to go home. Pipsqueak's hoof grazed something hard. That wasn't a rock. It was squishy, like flesh, and he felt something liquid. He also felt a soft brush of a mane. He really hoped it wasn't what he thought it was. And then he realized his tail was holding nothing. Saphira? Pipsqueak called, but she was gone. Where had she gone? Where was the path? Why did everything look so unfamiliar? Oh no. He must have wandered off. Why hadn't he paid attention? It's all over, Pipsqueak. He was just looking away for a second, and now he was all alone. He didn't even know what to look at, what was there. He backed into a tree. Every little sound made him jump. He couldn't stop shaking. No. He could no longer stand, and just covered his head with his forelegs, hoping that maybe this was all a bad dream. Maybe he'll wake up real soon and be in his bed, safe and sound. He felt something touch his shoulder. Ah! He bellowed as he thrashed wildly against the tingling sensation around his body. Pipsqueak, it's me, Saphira proclaimed, struggling to hold Pipsqueak's thrashing limbs with her telekinetic grip. Shh! It's okay. Saphira stood next to Pipsqueak, gently nuzzling his mane. Everything's all right. Hush now. Quiet now. She soothed, in order to stop Pipsqueak's sobs. Pipsqueak sniffled and wiped the snot from his nostrils. I'm all right. Pipsqueak steadied his breathing, then pointed a shaking hoof over at the thing he touched earlier. There's something. Pipsqueak choked out through sniffles. Saphira trotted towards the thing in the fog, using her horn's glow to get a better view. For several seconds she was dead silent, frozen stiff. She turned slowly towards Pipsqueak and said, It's a cockatrice. She looked back over to it and grimaced. Or, at least, it was. It's dead. Dead? What killed it? Pipsqueak galloped closer to Saphira, becoming much more cautious of his surroundings. Saphira touched it with her hoof. I can't say for sure, but I don't think this was done by a predator. See, when a predator kills something, I expect that it would show traces of being eaten, like bite marks and such, maybe some saliva or crumbs of meat. But here, it doesn't look like that. It looks more like this cockatrice was killed for sport, or in defense. She trotted past it, illuminating the ground. There are small hoof prints here, kind of like one of our classmates. So, they killed it? I don't know, but it is likely. She pointed to little red splotches on some of the hoof prints. Pipsqueak also noticed something blue mixed in with the red. Those tracks lead towards the cockatrice, but the body's so mangled and beaten that I can't tell if they killed it or examined it like us. There's 2 sets of hoof prints. Could it be Snails and Rumble? Pipsqueak said hopefully. Maybe. Her tone didn't match her words at all. This one goes off the beaten path, deeper into the forest. The hoof prints ended at the side of the dirt road, leading into the dark, dangerous forest. Who would be crazy enough to go that way? And this set of prints leads along the path. This is getting messed up. We're supposed to be in groups of 3, but it looks like we're all getting separated, singled out, and lost. Saphira examined while following the tracks deeper along the path, apparently judging that one to be the safest. Pipsqueak followed her. Heh, you're really brave, Saphira. Pipsqueak tried to make small talk. It was really the only thing he could do to keep himself from becoming a nervous wreck again. Am I? Saphira pondered, not paying all that much attention to Pipsqueak. Yeah, it's really scary out here, but you don't seem to be showing any fear. You're more of a hero than I am. Saphira sighed. I'm not that brave. Actually, I'm very scared. I'm just really good at shutting it out. Pipsqueak could believe that. The hiding the emotions part, not the being scared part. Why do you hide yourself? Was this a good time to ask? Saphira had brushed him off before. I used to live in Hollow Shades. It was a place surrounded by trees. We rarely saw sunlight, which might explain why her coat was so pale. It was kind of like the Everfree Forest. As fillies and colts, we learned very quickly about all the things that were out to get us. We learned how to suppress our fear, survival skills, and how to use the environment to our advantage. She pointed her muzzle at the sky above. See that one star up above? The one that shines really bright? It's right there in the constellation. That star will always point north, so we use that to guide our path at night. How do you suppress your fear? That was what Pipsqueak was most interested in. A few ways. Some ponies like to sing a song to themselves. Some ponies like to see things rationally, with a logical keen eye. Others like to twist and turn that fear into another emotion. Anger was a popular motivator. Huh? Saphira stopped explaining to focus on something in the fog, which Pipsqueak couldn't see. What's this? Is this another... She suddenly disappeared below the fog. Saphira! Pipsqueak bellowed. Don't move! She shouted back from below? Pipsqueak looked down to see the glow of Saphira's horn. I think we're in front of a cliff. I can barely see down here. I can't make it back up either. Was that fear in her voice? Hold on. I'll go find some help. Pipsqueak's accent was slipping through again. Come on, Pipsqueak. Use that bright noggin of yours. His father's words rang in his ears. Bright noggin. The deep red of his scarf caught his eyes. Hang on, I have an idea. Pipsqueak struggled out of his scarf, lowering the end down to Saphira. Good thing it was really long. Pipsqueak, you can't pull me up. I'm bigger than you. Try to find something to tie the other end to. Saphira said, her tone becoming a bit more urgent. Right, of course. Pipsqueak frantically eyed his surroundings. His leg brushed against something near a large, dark tree. The tree kind of looked like it had a scary face, which he ignored. It felt rough, made of wood, but not the same kind of wood. What the heck was this? He tried to pull it closer with his hoof, but it didn't budge. Whatever it was, it must have been sturdy. He tied the end of the scarf to that thing, then tugged to see if it really would hold. It would be really bad if Saphira ended up falling down while she was climbing. Good. It would hold. He really hoped it would hold, at least. Right then. I tied the end to a tree or something. Climb on up. Pipsqueak could see the scarf swaying as Saphira climbed up. He constantly checked the knot he tied, hoping it wouldn't become loose. He could see Saphira's light coming closer. He helped her to the ledge with his hooves and breathed a sigh of relief when she stood up next to him. Thank you. She looked visibly shaken from the experience. Can I have a minute? She shut her eyes, took several deep breaths. When she reopened her eyes, Pipsqueak could see that her calm and cool composure had returned. I'm all right now. She moved past Pipsqueak to untie the scarf to whatever it was he had tied it to. Pipsqueak, meanwhile, looked down into the foggy bottom. The fog was getting really bad. The hoofprint trail that had led them here. So, that must have meant... Oh no. Pipsqueak was able to put two and two together. He had no idea who it was, but... Pipsqueak. Saphira's low, quavering voice brought him back, out of his thoughts. I think you should take a look at what you tied the scarf to. Huh? It was just an uprooted tree trunk or something, right? He followed the glow of Saphira's horn to see that it wasn't an uprooted trunk. It was a pony who had been tangled in a web of branches. He had tied it to their hind leg, covered in the wood barding of their ranger costume. The bow and arrow cutie mark, illuminated by Saphira's horn, made it very clear who this was. Archer, Pipsqueak muttered. He prodded her flank with his hoof, but she made no movements. She's just sleeping. She must be sleeping. Archer is always a heavy sleeper. Please let that be the case, Pipsqueak pleaded with whatever gods were out there. Pipsqueak. Come on, Archer. Wake up. This isn't funny. It's me, Pippo, Pipsy, Pips, Piptastic, Pipporama. Short and round? Pipsqueak chuckled half-heartedly. Pipsqueak. If you don't wake up, then I'll tell Miss Cheerily on you. Come on. He nudged her harder. Come on. Pipsqueak. Saphira barked. Pipsqueak knew what Saphira was going to say. Somewhere inside, he knew. But he didn't want to acknowledge what the little pony in his mind was telling him. Saphira must be mistaken. She had to be. Archer's dead! Pipsqueak felt the air around him get a little heavier. It didn't help that the cawing of the crows sounded nearby. We can't do anything for her now. Saphira telekinetically wrapped one of her own runes in her magic. The soft crackling sound resounded through the air as Saphira wrote a message. I've marked this area. Once we get out of here, we'll bring the big ponies, and we'll bring her back. Okay? Saphira calmly explained while tugging on Archer's hind leg. What are you doing? To Pipsqueak, it looked like Saphira was about to eat Archer's body. He pushed her aside, standing between Saphira and Archer. Saphira frowned. Pipsqueak, I need to see how she died. But she's dead, Pipsqueak. Stop saying that. It's true, Pipsqueak. Please, move. No. Pipsqueak. No! He saw the flash from Saphira's horn, and suddenly Pipsqueak felt a telekinetic tug on his limbs, but he fought it. With all his strength, he wasn't a unicorn, but Earth Pony still had a little own innate magic. He felt his limbs move inch by inch. Pipsqueak, you're being difficult. Good. He continued to struggle, with all his might, until the 2 ponies eventually collapsed in short breaths. Pipsqueak, listen. Archer's dead. Nothing we do is going to change that. Please, Pipsqueak. I need to know how she died. Why does it even matter? I have my reasons. Always with the secrets. Pipsqueak was too tired to fight her anymore. Saphira stood up, stepped past him, and continued dragging Archer's body out of the tree, using her telekinetic magic to help with the untangling. When Archer laid out before her, Saphira went to work on examining her body. Hollow Shade's ponies were so different from Ponyville ponies. Then again, Pipsqueak was from Trottingham. But still, he didn't want to look at Archer's body. Look at her. Look at her! Pipsqueak sighed and turned around. His heart sank into the pit of his stomach. A look of pure terror and pain was frozen in time on Archer's face. Her eyes rolled up into her head as she bled from her mouth, nose, ears, and even eyeballs. Pipsqueak gulped down a snack from earlier. He couldn't stand to look anymore, so he walked away towards the bushes on the other side of the tree. Do you want to know what I found? Saphira asked him. I don't care, he lied. She didn't go quietly. Her blood's dry as well. I think she's been dead for a while now, Saphira said while kneeling down to do something that Pipsqueak couldn't see. How long ago? Probably not long after you last spoke. That only made him feel even worse. Go. I don't want to just leave her out here like this, he said with a bundle of brushes in his mouth and on his back. Saphira quietly nodded and trotted back to the path, examining the hoof prints leading deeper into the fog. Pipsqueak spat on the foliage and covered Archer's body with it. Despite the blood, it almost looked as though she was still sleeping, like she'd just woken up. Like she'd just wake up, tell him it was a joke, make some new nickname for him, and they'd start arguing about who was the best hero. Archer, he said quietly, shutting his eyes with his shaking hoof. It was a gesture he'd seen many times in comics, but he never really thought he'd have to do it, especially not for Archer. Don't cry, Pipsqueak. Don't cry. A hero doesn't cry. Saphira's voice cut through Pipsqueak's snuffles. She wasn't the only one who made those tracks. She marked the location as well. I found something. She levitated a brown, checker-patterned detective's cap towards Pipsqueak. The look on her face knew what it was, but she held her tongue, in case Pipsqueak was going to have another outburst. Featherweight, Pipsqueak mumbled in a slow, monotone voice. Fate may as well have put a vice grip on his heart. He eyed the cliff. Jump. The little voice in his head urged him to jump, trying to tell him that he could play with his friends on the other side if he just jumped. Snails. Snips. Rumble. Archer. Featherweight. Schootaloo. 6 ponies were now lost to the Everfree now, and it would be much more if they didn't hurry up and find everyone. Jump. The voice insisted, more urgently this time. He could hear the promises of the voice. The cliff beckoned him to just take the plunge. Let's go back to the cabin. Maybe Schootaloo's come back. That's a lie. They're all dead. Soon you will be too. So why wait? Go on your own terms. He bit his lip, then smacked his hind leg. Don't give up now, Pipsqueak. There are still ponies to rescue. You're a hero, right? Pipsqueak silently nodded as he held the cap in his hooves. What was he going to tell Dad and Uncle Heavyweight? Featherweight. He choked back the tears as he tucked the hat into his saddlebags.